I think like one of the things about being an entrepreneur is like, we like to lean into the hard thing, and we like to have that challenge of building, that challenge of uncertainty, that challenge of like, oh, what could happen tomorrow?
Hello, Joey.
Good morning, Dan. How are you today?
I am doing well. I'm a little chilly here in Florida right now.
Oh, poor thing. You're a little chilly in
Yeah.
Florida? What's the temp there today?
Alexa, what's the temperature outside?
It's 72 degrees.
Oh,
It's 72 and sunny.
I'm so sorry. I believe I read that the real feel in New York City is about -2 right now, but you go on ahead and be chilly.
Negative. Alexa's warning me about some high waves or whatever, rip currents and stuff at the coast.
Oh,
So,
I feel very sorry for you.
all right, so should we look at our algorithms and
Let's
see what
take a
it's
look.
offering? I was thinking earlier today that maybe I would even share my YouTube lineup because my YouTube.
It's very
stuff's more
brave of you.
interesting.
Let me see.
Just do that.
I'll show you I'll let you know what the first 5 things that come up on my Instagram.
Okay.
It's talking about February is the most psychologically damaging month of the year. Good times.
Oh.
More heated rivalry. Have you watched this yet? Dan.
No, I haven't. I keep forgetting about it, and other people mention it, and then I remember it.
This is a reel about a person who's like, what can we have 2 different kinds of grocery stores? One for people who have actually been in a grocery store before. And I just recently returned from seeing you and Kelly in Florida, and I kept texting Kelly, why does it seem like any time I fly, I'm on a plane full of people who have never flown before? So that's why my algorithm currently thinks that I'm a very irritated person. What's going on with you?
It's interesting. It picks it right up. Actually, so I just opened my YouTube setup here, and this is the first stuff, and this is probably pretty good representation of YouTube. Let's see, screen. Make sure I can understand how to do this. Where is it? YouTube. This one here, I think. There you go.
Oh,
So I've
goodness.
got some Walter Goggins and Danny McBride stuff. That's pretty good. Love Walter Goggins.
He's
Walter
pretty
Goggins.
terrific, and I love his resurgence, his renaissance,
Totally.
if you will.
I love people who are weird and they end up finding their place.
Absolutely.
And excel at
That's
it.
a good way to put it. I think that's why I gravitate toward him as well.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, there's always like that thing of like somebody who's just perfect and like chiseled out of marble or whatever that saying is. Like there's a little bit like they become successful in a world like, Hollywood or whatever. There's a little bit like, yeah, okay, of course. Like, yeah, that makes sense. But then when people are different and weird and they find their place, that's what's exciting. I also find the same thing interesting in some of like, various things pop up on my YouTube, and I find these military things pop up, and they tell stories of like, this particular military guy who was, 5'8" and like 130 pounds, like did all these amazing things. You know what I mean? Like it's the same thing. It's like, I don't know. Maybe that's what gives us all hope that when somebody who doesn't fit the mold can do something. Anyway, here's when Ford built a perfect station wagon. That sounds something I would watch. Here's a gun video, which that does pop up quite a bit. Down here we've got a collection of left and right here, probably some sort. This is Runner Girl probably, and this is probably OnlyFans or something. David Bowie, see, that's good.
I mean, yes, the king.
The Track, what is this, a movie? Oh, Chris Hemsworth?
Sure.
Okay. There we go. So anyway, this is pretty good. Oh, here, Vision Jet. This is actually a really good representation of my YouTube. Good job, YouTube, for what we've got going on here. Magic leggings for most magical time of the year. So there you go.
No thanks.
That's it. I don't know how to unshare. Stop. There we go.
There we go.
There you go.
Dan, why don't we take a moment and see what's going on in Palm Beach, West Palm Beach? Let's bring on Kelly for Kelly's Corner.
Kelly's here. Grab your shades. It's a wild, weird Florida
Kelly's Corner.
I'm never going to not call it that. I'm so
I know.
sorry.
I was like, I joked about that, and now I'm like, I begin to rue the day that I ever said Kelly's Corner. But it is. If it sticks, it sticks. Who am I to deny what the public wants? Okay, so I'm trying something different. Instead of just kind of looking at it for the first time and then having to scroll through it, I've bookmarked some of the ones that I thought were more interesting in terms of the WPTV app news stories. So they're from a little ways away. So I'm going to start with the ones that are less interesting, and then I'm going to end with one that's really a very, very exciting story. But the first one is that the headline that you see is, "They don't work, resident says city's growing roundabout network is ineffective." So, I mean, Port St. Lucie resident questions the effectiveness of the city's growing roundabout network, increasing reliance on roundabouts, and she's questioning whether they're the right solution for the growing community's traffic needs. Everybody's in a hurry, Freeman said. Roundabouts don't work. They don't work for this population. They centers on driver behavior at the intersection, particularly with the yield signs. The problem is that people are coming off on the yield sign on a roundabout and not yielding. And when they don't yield, there's a chance for an accident to happen, which I think is probably true in most cases.
I'm so glad he explained it.
Yes. Traffic flow, let's see what else. The way to prevent a problem is to have a traffic light. That's all, and I don't think these are going to work for the future. However, he acknowledges that if the roundabouts remain, driver education becomes crucial. If we're not going to get rid of them, then we do need to educate the people. Freeman reached out to WPTV specifically because he believed the media attention could help address the issue. I noticed that when your station gets a hold of a problem, it's usually somehow corrected. So there you go. That's
I admire this gentleman's gumption.
good for him. Good for him. So I guess
it's like these young whippersnappers with their drugs and their
barreling down the road.
Their OnlyFans and their roundabouts.
Roundabout.
All right, so this is a good one. I actually don't think this is as exciting as the title says, but the title of this one is "Car Creepers in the Area. Deputies investigate suspicious vehicle." I just didn't know. Heavy law enforcement presence in Royal Palm Beach as deputies investigate suspicious car.
How's the car suspicious?
I don't quite understand, but there was a heavy law enforcement presence in the La Mancha community early Friday morning. I guess this is that last Friday. They monitored the scene where deputies were conducting their investigation. The sheriff office on the scene confirmed that the Palm Beach County helicopter was also flying above the area during the investigation because of a suspicious car. This is it.
Sounds like
the story. The investigation appears to span multiple locations in the area, with law enforcement maintaining a visible presence throughout the morning. No additional information is being released at this time. This is a whole news story.
Is this like a Christine situation?
A what?
Christine. Stephen King's novel about a car that comes to life. Like, why is the car?
It's just about a suspicious car. This whole thing is talking about there's a suspicious car, and they brought out the police helicopter.
Love it.
What is so special about this car? I would expect that there would be suspicious cars all over the place. Why this one car? What's so exciting about this car?
I imagine that the car was wearing a mask, and it was up on its back wheels, like in the cartoons, and it was like sneaking around.
I don't know, but I just was like, why are we taking a whole, what is up with this car? And then it never got updated. This was from Friday. I don't know what happened with the suspicious car.
They don't give the maker model, because I'm really curious.
They don't say anything other than it's a suspicious car. We don't even say why it's suspicious. And this is Royal Palm Beach. All right, so the president comes into town by the airport. So if it was a suspicious car by the airport, that would make sense. Royal Palm Beach is a good half hour west of the airport.
Kels, I'm going to need you to do a little digging.
Okay.
And discover what more.
Well, it has not been updated, and I mean, quite frankly, that's the.
I do expect an update.
It's not updated. That is it. That's all we have. All right. Now,
you're plucky reporter. You need to go out and find the story.
This is my final one. Okay. I love this one. Florida gubernatorial candidate uses Tinder to connect with young female voters.
Sure, he does.
I'm not going to say the candidate's name just in case. I don't know, whatever. But this candidate for Florida governor is using Tinder to connect with young female voters as a part of his campaign strategy, drawing mixed reactions from the public.
Sure.
Tinder is not for dating. It's for connecting with young women where they are.
Wait.
from Fort Myers expresses her concern, saying, "Going on Tinder and saying you're targeted younger women, that's where it's weird." That doesn't sound okay. This is a campaign plan. This candidate details his campaign plan to those he matches with on Tinder, where he includes initiatives like helping young couples buy their first home, opening statewide pregnancy centers, or providing paid maternity leave. So this guy must have a Tinder profile set up.
Oh, yes.
I agree with these things, and then he's matching with the... I like the message that he wants paid maternity leave for women. Now, the way he's going about it on Tinder, of all things, that's where I draw the line. It gets a little creepy. The candidate acknowledges the unconventional nature of his approach. Well, it's certainly unconventional, I'll tell you that. But, of course, the side for it, he's gotten a lot of likes, I'm sure, and a lot of matches. Maybe he's gone on some dates. I don't know. I'm not sure what it is. But anyway, there you go. I'm not going to say his name in case
Wow.
he really
In case he becomes the governor?
Florida governor candidate in Tinder.
I will say his name because I
you
think
know
it's a
him?
fantastic Fishback. I've never met him, but he's one of the folks that is in the running, and I think that that's a great strategy, and I think we should copy it with our clothing investment stuff as well, so we can sell to young women
All right.
on Tinder.
Go. So you're getting whatever. Hey,
Young
it's
women have money to
unconventional.
invest.
It's a little crazy, but it's unconventional.
Y'all, do you remember when Netflix started making movies? And we all thought, that's crazy. What do they think they're doing?
Shay,
Things evolve.
it's true.
You're right, and that means if this works for Fishback, then
It may be a new
this
business
might,
model.
might be what it is. All the politicians will pile in, and then Tinder will just become a political app.
Oh, my
That's-
God.
That's
Anyway.
such an idiocracy that Tinder becomes a political app.
Yet another
like,
reason for me to stay off. Oh, my
I
God.
think that's pretty awesome. So anyway, so there you go. There you are.
Thanks,
Those are the
Kels.
three I picked out. So I'm not. There's a couple others, but they're not as exciting. Those are the good ones.
Thank you,
All right,
Kels.
good.
I really do want an update on the car, please.
I will. I'll
This
do
time.
my best, but again, like I said, there has been no further update to this story,
Well,
and there wasn't enough of a story to begin with. So I'm not really sure if I kind of feel like maybe they needed to fill a slot or something. I don't understand.
Go find a West Palm Beach cop and let's stop him on the street and be like, show him and be like, hey, what was going on with this? Maybe he'll tell you.
Maybe he will. Maybe he won't. I don't know somehow. All right.
Thanks, dear friend. I
All
love
right.
you.
Welcome. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye. Dan, I'm real excited for our guest today.
Me too.
We are going to speak with David Feinman. He is the co-founder of Viral Ideas Marketing, which creates online video content for a variety of clients, ranging from small businesses to Fortune 500 brands. He also co-founded Flixation, which is a worldwide utilized on-demand video editing service. He also started The Zombie Run, which is known nationally and would probably be the only way anyone could get me to run ever again.
Hey, Dave.
Hey guys, how's it going? How's it going?
Good to see you,
Good.
Dave. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. This is gonna be fun.
So, David, where are you let's start with where are you in the world? Where do you live?
I am based in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I heard you complaining about the cold earlier. It's like 5 degrees here, so 70 sounds
Oh,
pretty
God,
good right
it's-
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Poor Dan.
It's
Poor
just
Dad.
that it's
I feel so bad
we
for
came off that week last week when it was like super cold, and now it's still it's like remnants of it are still in my mind, not my skin, I guess. I don't know. Cool. So, David, to give us a little rundown, just for those people who don't know you, give us a quick rundown of maybe your history a little bit, and I want to hear all about the Zombie Run because I'm a runner myself, and so I'm aware of it, and want to hear how you got that idea going.
Awesome, man. I was checking out your website. I saw a picture of you in a cycling jersey. So do you cycle as well, or is it just running?
No, I just bought that for that shoot. We were buying funny outfits, and I actually didn't even know what
nice.
it was. I thought it was one of those old, like, 1950s swimsuits when I bought
very
it.
nice. Yeah, so you tricked me. I'm a big cyclist. So I was just wondering. No, but I'm an entrepreneur. I've been starting business since I was 16 years old. I'm 33 now. So I currently run a business called Viral Ideas. We do video editing for companies. Started it with around $200 and a business partner, and we're 90 people now and have a couple hundred clients. So it's been a fun ride over the past 11 years to get there. I'm also a runner too, so I did my run this morning inside on the treadmill because it's too cold. I know that's like a controversial take.
Yeah.
Some people are like, I cannot run on the treadmill under any circumstances, but in 5-degree weather, I can definitely run on the treadmill and watch a little TV in the morning.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
How long did you go? How long did you go on the treadmill?
I just did 30 minutes this morning. Nice easy run. Like 3
Okay.
miles.
Okay.
Nice easy
Good.
30-minute run.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a
And
little
this is my
background,
second
but
cup of-
never too early. Never too early.
So tell us about the zombie run. Tell us how you got that started.
Yeah, I think everyone runs a little faster when they're chased, and that was originally the concept behind the run, right? Was you always run faster when you're chased. So we actually combined a zombie-themed 5K, right, which was like, essentially we dressed people up as zombies. We hired a Hollywood makeup artist to dress a bunch of people up as zombies, and we pioneered this thing called the 5-minute zombie. So you enter a tent, and within 5 minutes, we turn you into a zombie, complete with like blood and gore all over you, and we'd splatter you with blood, and we take you out on the course. And your goal as a zombie was to capture flags around people's waist. So it was basically like a capture the flag game, and your job as a runner was to get to the finish line without having any of your lives taken. And there was chances throughout the race where you could like re-up your lives, and you can get more lives. You had to do certain things, like you had to do some squats or push-ups, and you can get extra lives by doing those things, so that way you can keep going. And there's only like 2 chances to do that for the race, and people loved it. It was a good way. Like what was interesting is like the customer base we had there at the zombie run was an intersection of like really competitive runners and people who watched The Walking Dead. Right, so it was like a nice intersection of people that like maybe got off the couch for the first time because they wanted to run through a zombie movie, and we had a whole story behind it, right? Like it was this chemical compound called C894 got leaked and turned soldiers into superhumans, like basically like the plot of every zombie movie that ever existed, and that whole superhuman thing went wrong and it turned people into zombies. So the race would actually start with this pharmacist. Like this person dressed as a pharmacist, like telling people that this is their evacuation route to get out of the city. As it turns out, people would go through the city, and they would find the zombies. And what we did to design the set was we paid someone for an entire month or an entire week straight. We had them watch zombie movies and pull out every archetypal element that comes with a good zombie movie. I'm sure they had bad dreams for like a month after this, but what we found is like in every zombie movie there's a car crash scene. So we would take 2 rental cars, we would splatter them with blood and put some fog up amongst them. In every zombie movie there was a helicopter circling overhead. So we would charter a helicopter to just fly around the race course, and we would also put a videographer in there. So it was like we tried to make it almost like when you're going for a run, it's sort of a boring experience, but like Disney sort of turns a really boring ride into like an archetypal experience. So we thought of that same concept. We decided to turn basically a run into a Disney-like experience, and we were successful with it until we sold it.
It's an excellent idea. It grew really, really fast too.
Yeah, it was a fast run. We only had the company for about a year before we sold it. I was in college at the time, so was the partner I started with, and it sort of took on a life of its own, and we were 2 like 18, 19-year-old kids at the time that started the business, and we were sort of like sort of wanted to be at college and also like didn't know how to manage grown adults at the time, so it was just like an interesting time. So I went back to college after that and vowed never to start a business again, because I was like, this is impossible, it's hard, it's too much work. Took a year off, went to a lot of parties, and decided to take on some consulting gigs, and at the same time was interviewing at Google, my senior year. That's my 3rd round interview at Google, and realized it's like, oh gosh, I cannot work here. This is not like my manager is not someone who I want to be when I grew up. So I decided to dive back into entrepreneurship after that. And ultimately, so grateful I made that choice. And me and a business partner, Zach, started this business 11 years ago. We're still working together now, which is like, I hear it's so statistically improbable for two business partners to last 11 years, which that could be a whole episode in itself. So, we've been going for 11 years, and, we've built the thing up to be something that takes care of us and takes care of a lot of families and grows super, super fast.
Do you have so you don't have an entrepreneurial history? Like the zombie run was kind of your first endeavor into, you said 16 you started doing businesses. So is your family entrepreneurial? How did you know you could do that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I didn't. I thought my family's not. My dad owned a medical practice, and my mom, he's a doctor, and my mom's a school psychologist. My grandfather had like a little side business, doing taxes. So like, I didn't really know what entrepreneurship and starting a business was. When I was 16, I didn't know what it was. But back then, me and a buddy started like this. We were runners, and we started this half marathon in our local area, and that was like my first foray into entrepreneurship. I started there, and I think I started to learn about it. And I was like, oh, this is what. And I didn't realize that like what I was doing was entrepreneurship or was being entrepreneur. To me, it was just like I was like putting on this cool race with my friends, and it was making a little bit of money, right? Like, and we did these team dances at an athletic club when I was younger, and like that was my way into entrepreneurship. So it was, it was really that buddy kind of and I figuring it out, and I didn't really know what I was doing. Like looking back, I kind of know what I was doing, but in the moment, I can't tell you that I was like super intentional about being an entrepreneur. I sort of was just like doing stuff that I enjoyed around my passion and making some money off of it along the way and then as I got older, obviously it got way more intentional than that. But it really just started out as like projects and things that were exciting for me.
Well, what a connection that I'm drawing that I see is that, for example, the zombie run, connecting to the viral marketing stuff that you're doing and have been doing all this time. Obviously, there's a connection there in terms of how you communicate with the market, right? Like the idea that like you could have just done a regular boring run and it probably wouldn't have been as successful at all, but because you created this element and this experience, you got results, right? And so it sounds like it's kind of the same thing with the viral marketing kind of business that you've been in for the last 11 years. That must just be how your brain works, or maybe how you and your partner kind of like connect on, like, how does that work in terms of why do you think you went that route? Like, how did you know to do that? Or did you just do stuff that you think is funny?
Yeah, so for viral ideas, like, I always had a passion for video, right? So, when I was younger, I was in this program called Cinekid, which was like basically a program for like, film dorks and video dorks, and we'd all get together and make videos, and a bunch of nerds getting together with like big cameras. And it was funny, like back then they didn't have any digital editing. It was, you would actually edit, you would have two tapes, right? And one tape was your tape that was playing, and then you have another one that you would actually edit on, and you would like you would transfer one thing to another, and you'd like edit up with this little knob, and it was like actually like a pretty complicated process. And I'd always back then found a really big fascination with editing and doing it that way and crafting a story with footage that already exists. And I can connect that to like always being creative, and now we just do that for clients, right? So like all day, at scale, we're coming up with new concepts for clients and editing content that already exists. And I think a lot of it does connect back to creativity that I had when I was younger, and I still feel like a lot of it is play in a way, right? Like you get some footage and you figure out how you can make this into a story that works well for clients. And we're lucky in that a lot of the work that we get to do gets shown online, and it's sort of like this thing that is a living, breathing thing after we're done, and it lives on. It's not, while content in today's days is disposable, like it sort of lives forever, right? It's something that like we our staff can sort of make their mark. They can make an edit, and they can have that edit live on for a long period of time after that.
When you're working with clients, are you guys giving them the concepts? Are they coming to you with concepts? How does that work?
It's a great question. So sometimes clients come in with an exact time-stamped second by second thing. A lot of times they create with ChatGPT with exactly what they want to do. And other times they're like, hey, here's a list of stuff that we think we want, or here's a bunch of footage. You guys go figure it out from there. So there's definitely a wide range of scope of clients, but we're capable of creating something from nothing. We're capable of, creating something with sometimes way too much direction.
So then you hand them back whatever it ends up being, the output, the content, and then they distribute it and then they put it out there, or do you guys participate in that process at all?
No, for now we're just laser focused. Like I think where a lot of companies go wrong is they try to do a lot of things well, right? Like I like to draw the analogy of a diner. Like everyone's got their one friend that orders like steak or lobster at a diner, but that person also probably gets food poisoning a little bit more than the average person. So like versus like a specialty restaurant with a limited menu, like in Philly, like Zahav is a perfect example. Michael Simonov's restaurants, I don't know if you've ever heard of them, but like they're really well-renowned restaurants in Philadelphia. And the menu, it's like, Israeli food. It's like really, really, really tight menu. It's like, one page, and it's like every dish is perfected. And I prefer to run a business that's more of a perfected menu versus a diner menu, because then everything on that menu is intentional. So for us, every time we add a service, or every time like we go with the service, we're thinking about how deep we can go to perfect the dishes that we're putting out, so to speak. I think that that is our way of perfecting our product, because our product is not a rubber stamp thing that happens over and over again, right? It's really customized depending on the person's needs. But the deeper we've gone with editing, the more we've learned how to perfect the process of putting out a version 1 of a video that clients will like over and over again. And that whole process on the back end, is what gives our product a lot of depth on the front end.
Yep. Yeah, that makes sense. Yes, one of the things I've learned kind of in my entrepreneurial journey, and after watching many others that I've worked with or invested in or mentored or whatever, is that the hardest thing for entrepreneurs, and it sounds like you've got it figured out, is just staying focused on like the thing that actually, like a lot of times we get distracted by all the shiny objects, and we now I'm over here, and so you don't put enough energy into any one area to become good at it, right? And to become really, build a business that's really proficient in that area. So kudos to you for maintaining that focus, for sure.
I was just going to follow up that point with, I think what's interesting is, the more specialized, everyone thinks that the more specialized you get, the more narrow your business gets, but it's actually the opposite. What I found is the more specialized we've gotten, the larger clients we can work on, because those clients want to come to us to solve a larger problem that they might have. So, while we could do more and we could add more things, the clients that we're getting are clients that have a larger problem in the thing that we're highly capable in solving.
Yeah, totally. So give me an example of like one of your favorite viral type ideas that you guys came up with, or that you produced.
Yeah, that's a great question. One of my favorite clients is this company called Spite House Studios, and they created this game called Go F Yourself, and the game is basically like an adult version of Go Fish, kind of like Cards Against Humanity. And I really love working with these guys because their content is hilarious, right? So they'll go out to like, a NASCAR festival, they'll go out to Pride festivals, and they will just ask people the most ridiculous questions. And the whole concept of the game is like all these ridiculous questions that could pop up, and you ask someone, and if you can't, I think if you basically can't answer that question, you have to say go F yourself, right? So I think that creates some really awesome viral moments, and they're really great at finding footage that is like they find the most ridiculous moments. Like they'll find people that'll say like the craziest stuff, have the craziest stories, and they give us that footage, and we're like, this is gold. This is like every single one of these is gonna be a banger. So that's one of my favorite ones that were. Go ahead.
So they go out and get the footage, and then they bring it back to you, and then are you guys kind of doing all the, for lack of a better word, like direction or like assembling of it, or like, and then you basically just go through the raw stuff and pick out all the good things, or do they give you a list of what they think are the good things? How does that work?
So sometimes the clients will have like an idea, like that particular client will sometimes have some ideas of like, hey, in this particular one, make sure you focus on this moment because this one was a really good one. Otherwise, we're just looking through that footage and being like, hey, this is, really what makes a good video is like you got to start out with a good hook, right? In the start to draw people in. After that hook, you need something to retain someone, right? So you need like a good little story in there. Then you need like a nice little call to action, something to bring the hook home and like have a payoff at the end of the video. So we're really looking for moments that follow that formula, or looking for something that we can craft that formula, using some of those methodologies. So we're looking through a video, maybe we're rearranging some stuff to create that well formatted video. A lot of times, like if you're watching something on social media, you might see a video that like loops back on itself. The end becomes the beginning. Like that's a great way to just sort of create a nice payoff in the beginning that kind of takes you through to the end. So you kind of know the end, but you don't know how you got there. So people creates a nice little, it stretches the curiosity gap of a video. So, scratches an itch, or, it creates an itch that you won't be scratched until the end of the video.
How have you scaled up the creative part of all of that? Because that means that there's going to have to be people looking and making a creative decision on like, hey, here's how this all fits together. So I know you mentioned you have a lot of people, but there's a difference between the people who have to make like artistic decisions and those who just have to crank through from an editing perspective. So how do you find those people that are able to kind of keep the creative, or are you structured that, you guys are like your creative director, you and your partner, or how that works?
Yeah. So how it works, it's a good question. There's three things, right? So the first thing is good people, right? Like, so good people can make those decisions for you. So we have like a very rigorous hiring process to get the right editors on board. Then there's great training. So there's, within what we do, there's different video types, and we will train people on how to create different basically we create frameworks for creating videos, and the editors are trained on those individual frameworks. So that way they know what makes a good video in general, and there's like a blueprint for it. So, our whole thing is like we can find a good editor and we can make them great with our level of training. Then there's another human layer of support, which is a creative director. So if there's ever like a creative problem that they can't solve, they can go to a creative director to have a brainstorming session, or to help them figure out and solve a creative problem that might be a little bit more difficult to solve. And then we also built some AI tools that do it for them, so that way they could self-serve. Like, let's say there's a brief that they're confused on, or some footage that they don't know what to do with. We've built some in-house AI tools, and they can go into that AI tool and talk to it, and it's kind of like talking to the best creative director on earth that can, give them some ideas and direction on way to go. There's one for like script writing. There's one for how to brand something correctly. There's other ones that we're developing that can watch a video and tell you whether or not you did it good on it and give you some edits on it. So there's a bunch of them that we've packaged together that create essentially like an internal brain that people can get interface with. So it's sort of like if we put an editor, if you take an editor like just standing on the working by themselves and try to work with them, compared to an editor that's working with us, we've sort of layered all this extra value on top of it that lets that person be like a supercharged version of an editor.
That's awesome. That's cool. And when how in your 11-year process, how did you know to do that? Like, what experience led you to the idea of being able? Because I assume you must have some pretty formalized. You said training, there's probably formalized, SOPs and all that sort of stuff as well. So what was your process of learning how to do that, and when to do that, or learning it somewhere else?
That's a really good question. I mean, I think when we started the business, we were really young. We were 21, 22 years old. So we knew nothing, right? Like we started this business right out of school. And what I wish I did back then was find like some coaching or some mentorship that could have guided me directly on the path. And mentorship from the right person, right? Mentorship from someone who's already built a similar business, or had solved some of the similar projects, not just like a generic business mentor. So I really wish I found someone that could have done that for me, looking back. But the way we've solved it, and I think it's really come, I would say the last 4 years have been the most maturity of our business, is really we've, I don't know if either of you have ever read the book, The Goal. It's by Ellie Goldratt. So we just follow that. I have it right back here. I see Dan.
I've got it right over here. Yeah, that's it.
All right.
The Goal is my Bible, by the way. That is my Bible. Like it's Yeah, totally agree. But continue. Sorry. Yeah. So you follow that.
It's
Yeah.
also my Bible. It's like, all we're doing all day, every day is following the theory of constraints. Like, where is the business most constrained? What do we have to do to unblock that? Then we grow from there. And we've made our leadership team read it. We've made our people, abide by it. And we don't solve a problem unless there's a real problem there. We used to solve these problems that were like fluffy ones, right? Like, like this person isn't feeling good, or like this, when we our revenue's low, let's go sell. Like, we used to solve all these problems like that weren't actual problems. And then we started following the goals process, and we're like, okay, like, figure out where the business is most constrained, drive all your resources into that one thing, unblock it, and then usually what that does is it like gets you up another step function. And then it creates a bunch of new problems and a bunch of new headaches, and then you got to go fix it again and again and again. It's never ending. And it's a lot of fun, actually, like once you get into that like process of continual improvement. So we started operating less like a creative factory and more like a factory, and I think that has changed the game for us.
Yeah. The thing that I love about the theory of constraints is that in entrepreneurship, it's really easy to not know what to do. And when you start thinking in terms of the constraint, it tells you exactly what to do. Like, where do you put your attention? Where do you put your focus? You don't get, it's easy to keep yourself from getting distracted by, people have a tendency, myself included, and I've noticed, and people do this in life too, right? This is like a general concept. We have a tendency to focus on the things that we can like kind of easily take care of, like, right, you mentioned somebody's like, well, this person's feelings or whatever, right, in terms of like a business thing. Well, okay, cool, so we can spend all our time talking about this guy's feelings and working on this and working on that, and then at the end of the day we can feel like we accomplished something, right? Like, great, everybody feels better, but did we really move the business forward? Did something really like get better? No, it didn't, right? And so the theory of constraints for me always makes it so that it's like, I know what the problem is, right? Like, I like, let's put our attention there. And it's not going to be easy. By definition, it's the hardest thing, right? That's the thing. If it was easy, it wouldn't be in that category of the constraint. So staying focused on the thing that's hard and not allowing ourselves to go do the easier thing, because that's not really going to move the needle, right? It's the focus on the hard thing that makes the difference.
I think people also will focus on the things that either make them calm their anxiety down, or are boring in nature that will give them a quick win or quick hit, right? Like, but by that I mean, let's say someone gets super anxious about feeling like they need to control every piece of their business, and like feel like if they don't have their hands in it, they don't, it's not good. Well, okay, by doing that, you're actually adding constraints to the business, not taking away the constraints in the business. And you're actually working against what is causing your business to grow. Or they might say like, oh, the boring or even sexier work is like, hey, we're going to create this really awesome thing that's going to, be this really cool tech product that's going to solve all our problems. But that's not actually what's blocking your business from growth. It's just like looks sexy, or it's super boring. Like, we're gonna change over our credit cards to this new credit card company, and we're going to renegotiate, our vendor contracts. Like, all this stuff doesn't actually like grow your business. It like may make you feel better, and it may like ease your anxiety and make you feel like, hey, I'm getting the best price on this, but like it doesn't actually grow your business in a meaningful way.
Yeah. One of the things that I always say is that in business you need to know what business you're in, right? Like, so like in your business, if from the outside we would say, okay, so it's video, it's editing, like we would kind of define these things, right? But at the end of the day, your business that's what you're outputting, but your business is whatever the constraint is. That's your business. Like we owned live theater venues in Chicago back in the day, and we used to joke about how we were in the moving chairs business, because the more efficiently we would move the chairs and move the audience in and out of the chairs, that's how we made money, right? So like the fact that we owned real estate and that we had people doing performances and like all this stuff, like that was all ancillary to the main thing, which was how many people can move in and out of those chairs, and how we move the chairs around to get maximum volume of activity. That was our constraint. So it was like, I mean, you see that in the Founder, right? In that McDonald's movie with Michael Keaton.
Yes.
Right? They show them moving. They show them moving between like the chalk drawings on the ground to like how fast they can move stuff around. They're not in the burger business in that case. They're in the how efficiently they can move stuff. And then they, of course, realize they were actually in the real estate business, right? Like they realized that, like, actually that's where we make money in this whole real estate structure. And the operating business was really just to support that. So, yeah, it's interesting that the business that you see on the surface is never actually the business. It's always something else.
Yeah, I mean, for our business, our whole business is labor utilization. Like that is in our business is how effectively can you use labor to produce a something that is good that and great that a client will love, right? Like, and it's we're trying to figure out like how effective is that labor utilization to produce an end product, and that is the business we're in. And it's funny like when you say that, because it's like no matter how big businesses get, like a lot of them have all the same problems. And the more you're a student of that, like what business was McDonald's is, okay, they're selling hamburgers, but they're trying to figure out how quickly can you put out the hamburgers and how effective can you be with that, right? Very similar to in a way to our business, similar to a lot of businesses.
Logistics, supply chain, asset utilization, like all these concepts all apply to everybody who's in any type of business. And actually thinking about that too, Joey, I was just thinking about even in like the creative world too, there's the idea of asset utilization, except the asset in that case a lot of times is the artist, right? Is the creative person. That's the asset that has to figure out how to stay busy, how to stay producing output that's, I guess, well, it depends what you're trying to accomplish. If you're trying to make money, then it has to be output that's monetizable. If you're just producing, and then I guess that's kind of a philosophical question in itself.
Yeah.
If a creative person is trying to monetize, then of course the focus would be on ability to monetize. But then I also think there's a bit of a maybe a paradox there, that the more you focus on the monetization potential, the harder it is to monetize, where it's almost like if you just, from like an artist perspective or a creative perspective, the more that you be true to like the creative process, the more likely you will produce meaningful output that will become viral or will be monetizable. What do you get?
I've definitely experienced moments of that in my life where it seems like everything seems to be working out when when I give it space to breathe, if that makes any sense. When I'm not so focused on trying to monetize for some reason, like it's trying to find that sweet spot in breathing, right? It's like where you have enough air that it's not forced. Does that make any sense? It's a weird metaphor, I know, but.
No, for sure. How it makes sense is that I can't remember what book it was that I read. It was a sales book of some kind. I can't remember who said it or whatever. But the focus was, or maybe it was a Harvard Business Review article. It was about the idea that like if you're trying to incentivize people with money, you can incentivize like factory workers with money and say like, hey, if you produce this many more things at this quality level, this much faster, I'll pay you more money. And that does work. Giving them an incentive makes people move faster, work harder, all these sorts of things. But when it's a creative endeavor, that doesn't work. It has the complete opposite effect because people get so laser focused on the incentive and laser focused on the thing that they're trying to like imagine, that their imaginations just break, right? So like when you're doing creative stuff, you have to have a wide field of view, and incentives bring it down to like narrow, super narrow. So to your point, like if you're thinking all day long, I need to monetize, your creative goes right out the window, and then you're actually missing opportunities. So it's a weird, all three of us on this here on this conversation are all creative people, and it's a balance between, okay, I need to focus, but then I also have to be able to keep a wide field of view so I can maintain creativity to produce the best output.
It's not an easy balance.
No, it's not easy.
I think there's.
It's not easy.
It's kind of like the difference between like a maker and a manager schedule. Like a manager schedule, hour by hour, you're booked, right? You have calls all day. You're jumping from thing to thing to thing, and generally by the end of the week you could have had maybe like 50 to 100 calls by the time the week is done. Where a maker schedule, there should be like max one call a day. And like the best creatives I find like thrive when they're left alone to go create versus being interrupted at every minute. But also, you know, to the point, like with artists, you know, there's an interesting case study with the art of Andy Warhol. I don't know if you guys have ever heard this story, but you know, Andy was actually like one of the world's greatest artists. However, that he was famous for seeing that like good business is sometimes the best art, and he really commercialized his art by sort of creating stencils around what he did, and then just duplicating those stencils over and over and over again. And you know, while his art was like a little bit different, it wasn't like one perfected piece that was a one of one. You know, his pieces might be like, you know, his pieces might have multiple different pieces of the same thing in the collection. So I think a lot of that allowed his business to thrive as an artist, where someone, you know, where another artist might be hedging a lot of their bet on a single or maybe even a small number of different pieces that they've created. So there's just like two different ways of thinking about what makes good art, and I don't think either one is, you know, the wrong answer, so to speak. But you know, each one has its own unique pros and cons.
Totally.
Dave, one of my big fascinations is imposter syndrome and how people maneuver through it. But you started so young. You were like 16 when you started marketing bands in high school. Do you feel like you kind of bypassed imposter syndrome, or is that something you experienced as you got older?
I'd be lying to. I think the easy answer from the outside is to say like, oh, this guy was entrepreneurship from a young age, and up until now he's, you know, been doing the thing and achieving it. But like, to be honest with you, 5 minutes before this call, it's like, oh, why am I on this podcast? I don't deserve to be here, right? Like, you know, like that settles into the back of my head. Like if I'm just speaking totally honestly,
Sure.
right? Like, you know, like 5 minutes before, that was my thought. And
I
then
appreciate
I did a bunch
that.
of push-ups. I'm like, okay, get over it. You know, they invite you on. You're good. Like, so like I think like it still creeps in, and you know, every time I, you know, sort of jump a level in entrepreneurship, like revenue goes up, you know, employee count goes up, I hit another milestone. I'm like, whoa, like, you know, am I still flying this plane? Like, is it like, you know, like, can I still be in the driver's seat of this thing? So yeah, it's something that I think about every day, and I think the way I counteract it is every day just trying to show up and prove that voice wrong, right? And it's just saying like, hey, you know, settle into the person that you claim you are, right? Like you claim you're an entrepreneur, you claim you're a CEO, you claim you can run this business, you claim you can get it to this next level. Like, go show up and prove yourself. You know, prove the version of yourself that you claim to be correct, and just give yourself a bunch of, you know, unreasonable evidence that would state that you could do this. And you know, that's what I work every day to do. And it's not out of the motivation of, you know, I wake up every day, I'm like, oh my gosh, I should be here, I shouldn't be here. But you know, yeah, it does. That doubt does creep in, you know, and it does show up. And I don't know if it ever goes away. Like with the successful people that I've talked to, it seems like they all feel something similar of like, oh my gosh, like, you know, if their ego, unless their ego gets in the way of that, you know. But you know, at least when they humble down.
Well, I think that's the thing.
Yeah,
I think I've encountered a lot of egos in my life, I think, and it's easy for me to start thinking everyone has it figured out somehow. So it's very refreshing to me when successful people are willing to admit, yeah, no, I continue to deal with this. I just have to push past it. Easier said than done, though.
Oh yeah, I think it's part of it, Joey. Like, I think it's like, you know, I think like that's the fun in it. It's like, would it be really that much fun if like you weren't constantly the hero of your own story, right? Like, would it be like,
oh, I love that. I love that.
Yeah. Like, okay, like I'm doubting myself a little bit, and then like, okay, I overcame it, I did this, okay, well, but like, what's next? And like, if you like, it's you know, it's constantly like a version of the hero's journey, right? Like, and I think that's how life should be.
Right. You're right. That's a good point. If you constantly were, I mean, I don't know, maybe there's people in the world like this, and maybe they're either super successful or maybe not successful at all even. But if you don't have that, like you're saying, that like uneasiness of the next step in the journey, it's not an interesting story, right? Even for yourself who's living it out in your own head, it's like if everything was just totally status quo feeling all the time, it would probably be, I wonder what that would be like. I guess it would be boring, or it would be like you wouldn't, or maybe unmotivating or something like that. Like it would be, yeah, that's a really good way to think about it. The hero's journey is only interesting because there's difficulty, right? So like pushing ourselves into difficult things is what makes life interesting, right? I guess that's why people always, you hear those stories about guys who like build their businesses for 30 years and then they sell them and they make all this money. And then all of a sudden they're just like sitting around and they're bored and depressed, and and I've heard that story many times, like firsthand from people. So maybe it's just like a human thing that we have to be able to find our next mountain to climb, right?
Yeah.
So
I agree. I mean,
cool.
Back in 2021, one of the things I did was I biked from Philly to Florida. My grandfather had recently passed away, and me and a buddy were sitting at the gym, and we're like, I planned to do an Ironman down in Florida. He was like, "How are you getting there?" I jokingly said to him, I was like, "Hey, I'm planning to get down there. I'm planning to bike down there." And he's like, "All right, let's bike down there." And like he called my bluff. And like I was like, "All right, let's bike down there." And then it became like the two of us were just like, "Okay, let's bike down there." So then we did it, and we raised a bunch of money for stroke research, and it was like a very healing journey. Like I did a whole documentary on it on my YouTube channel called Finding Peace. And one of the things that our motto when we were going, we did the first day. The first day was 130 miles on the bike, and we woke up the next day. We're all like sore, we're like hungry because like we didn't eat enough the night before. We all looked. The one guy looks at all of us. He's like, "All right, give me something hard to do," and he's like, and that became like the motto of every day going down there. And I think like one of the things about being an entrepreneur is like we like to lean into the hard thing, and we like to have that challenge of building, that challenge of uncertainty, that challenge of like, oh, what could happen tomorrow? One of my employees could quit. One of my employees could do something wrong, and like I have to figure a way out of this. And I think like all that stuff, or competitor could come, and like there's like a million things that could happen. And I think it's about like figuring out that hard thing, and like just picking up and getting something new that's hard to do. I think that's like half the fun of it, right? Like is being able to do that every single day.
Totally.
It's interesting because there's some people for whom that's really exciting, the challenge of what does tomorrow have to bring? What can I solve tomorrow? And there are a whole other faction of people who are like, I don't want to know. I don't want to deal with the challenge of tomorrow. I want to just stay in the comfort of today. But they don't move forward, right? They're not accomplishing much.
I agree, 100%.
Yeah. Cool.
Dave, how can people find you?
Great question. You can find me. Best place to reach out to me is on Instagram. My Instagram handle is @DavidFeinman. And then it's a gift to your audience if you guys. I have this guide. We've hired so many video editors over the years, so I have this guide called "How to Hire a Video Editor That Doesn't Suck." So if you guys if your audience is looking for a video editor, if you just DM me Joey and Dan Podcast Guide, I can, or the Big Dop Podcast, I can send you over that guide and as a gift to your audience.
Awesome.
Oh, fantastic! Thank you so much, Dave.
That's great. Cool. Well, thank you, David. Thanks for talking with us today. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. This was a lot of fun. Hello.
So anyway, interesting how these conversations go. I like it when I meet other people that are theory of constraints people, because
I'm going to need to read this. No, I'm going to need to read this book.
You would. We'll send it. We'll send you one. I'll send it to you.
I'd love that.
I have your address. I mean, you probably could read it on Kindle or something too. But there's something about the actual book, especially the cover of it, like 1980s style graphic design and everything. I think it's kind of part of the experience.
But does this have to do with because I'm such a huge fan of structure. I work really well with structure. Is it along the same lines?
That's what it is. That's totally what it is. It's basically like in manufacturing, how to speed up and like produce the most output within a system. And if you read it from just a manufacturing perspective, fine, it's about manufacturing. But if you think of it that we all live in a system, there's always a process going on within our whatever endeavor we're facing. So you can apply it like kind of philosophically to pretty much anything, and then start to identify the constraint and then do all the same work you would have done in a manufacturing process. Mm-hmm. So it's really great. It's written in like in like a parable form, so it's super easy to read.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
That works well for
it's
me.
not
Yeah.
overly technical. Yeah, me too. Cool.
Cool. So
Good
nice talking to
stuff.
Dave. And I'm going to have to do that zombie run someday, aren't I?
Yeah. Yep. You got to do some run to begin with. Let's start with something.
Joey, just ask exercise for the love. Yes.
End of the block. End of the block run. That would
Thanks,
actually be
Dan.
that's a good idea though. That's a great idea. We should do the end of the block run where we could basically have like a big, like it could be like distributed, and we can say on this day at this time everyone's doing the end of the block run, and we can like send them a little number and everything, and then just to get people up off the couch and be like,
You know, that's not a terrible idea. It's not a terrible idea.
And then everybody posts as for like an accountability perspective. They just maybe they do it like a selfie for the whole block, you know, like, and then that's it.
Dan,
It's
you
over.
just came up with a great idea. I think you're going to need to do this.
So many ideas, not enough time. Awesome.
Oh,
All right. Good times, everybody.
good time.